Right. Now, just moments before the flight vanished, the pilot asked her to climb higher and avoid thunderstorms in that area, but that request was, in fact, denied.
So what in the world could the pilot have done at that moment?
That's right. Fox News military analyst Lieutenant General Tom McInerney has flown in that part of the world. He joins us now with assessment. General, thank you for being here with us this morning. Could the pilot have done anything else? What was the role facing this thunderstorm and a denial to change altitude?
A great question, Elizabeth. In those particular circumstances, the pilot must do whatever he thinks to make the aircraft and the passengers safer. And if he felt that going into that thunderstorm at that particular altitude and he needed to go from 320 up to flight level 380, then he should have done that. He should have told that to the Air Traffic Control Center that he was doing that. He could have turned off a certain heading. But he's got to do whatever he thinks for the safety of the aircraft and the passengers.
Excuse me, General, but it's interesting. We've heard a lot this morning about overriding concerns. You had the computer potentially taking over. How does that pilot, when you say he needs to do what he needs to do, how can he actually do that when maybe the computer and the controls are actually fighting his efforts to do just that?
Well, that's a good question, Senator, but in those particular situations that we're describing, the airplane is not fighting back. The question where it fights back, the computer does, is if you think that you are going down and you're trying to pull the stick back, like happened on the Air France aircraft out of South America, in which they got themselves into a stall. In this particular case, all you do is turn your track course left 10, 20 degrees, and you start the climb. That aircraft is not going to fight back.
We heard the ceiling was 44,000 feet, yet this plane was only capable of going 42, give or take, 1,000 feet. How would he have actually been able to outrun or go over that storm?
Well, he in fact probably could not, and that was the question. Even the climb to flight level 380, that would not have gotten him out of the storm.
So at what point
you always
do you
try
turn
to get above it if you can.
Or what point should this plane not have been in the sky? I mean, can we go back one step further and say, based on that area, based on the history of storms, based on this flight capacity of the Airbus, should that flight ever have gone there, taken off?
Well, that's another great question. And I operated out there for 7 years and used to have squadrons going down from the Philippines and Okinawa when I was commander to train in Singapore. We would not have deployed under those particular conditions. Yes, the military is safer because we have different rules. We don't have passengers. We're not trying to get revenue. So it is different in that regard. But it's a monsoon season. I don't know what picture, look at the picture you're seeing right now, that picture I would have either gone south or gone a different route. But again, I don't know what the pilot, so I'm being a little harsh and guessing because I don't know what weather picture the pilot saw, but that is not a good picture. Those are very severe thunderstorms. What I do know is that airplane went into a thunderstorm and it didn't come out. So it had to be a very severe thunderstorm to have an impact on it to where the airplane did not come out, whether it was a flight control problem, whether it was a failure somewhere because of the severity of the thunderstorm. We don't know that yet. But we do know it didn't come out of that thunderstorm.
General, we're also hearing reports this morning they may have been flying too slow, something we haven't even touched on yet in Fox and Friends, that he may have been going 100 knots too slow as this thing as he was attempting to make some sort of maneuver. What do you make of that?
Could have stalled out, potentially.
Yeah, he could have stalled the aircraft like Air France.
Yeah, and that is a course of action that could have happened because he was trying to climb. He didn't have the thrust. He'd been airborne an hour plus. And so he may not have had the light enough that he could have gotten to that altitude, and so he could have gotten slow. Again, we don't know that. There are a whole host of course of actions, Clayton, that people will look at. We'll know when we get the black box.
We sure will, and we hope to get that soon. Our hearts are with the families. General McInerney, we thank you for your service and your assessment this morning on Fox and Friends.
Thanks, General.